What's up, guys? Below net, Kirk FM. So I saw Batman vs Superman tonight for opening night. Let's catch this thing really quickly. What's up, guys? Just about every live video I ever do is that's going to happen. So I've been drinking tonight. Saw the movie. Was really excited for it, despite all the ramblings I heard. Really stayed away from all the reviews. Wanted to go in there with an open mind. This is really hard to talk about. When you're trying to be a reviewer and a critic, and you're trying to look at any type of art or storytelling, especially when you're a comic book nerd, you really want to try to divide yourself from, oh, they didn't get the comics right, or the movie wasn't that good. Truth be told, Batman vs Superman makes this argument very, very easy for me, makes this decision very easy for me. To be as objective as possible, this is very easy. The movie is bad, and I can go on all night about how bad the editing is, how much the main story was taken out and probably left on the cutting room floor. And it's very easy to kind of point fingers at the higher ups over at WB about including certain things into the film so that they can build a new DC cinematic universe and try to catch up with what else is going on in superhero films. The film is so bad that argument is way too easy. It's edited to shit. So much story is just gone. What I do want to talk about is that once you get past all of that, thematically, who Snyder believes these characters are is heartbreaking. I didn't like Man of Steel. We can have that argument all day. My 3 points on Man of Steel were that I didn't like his choice in how to do the action scenes. I thought the speed for all the fight scenes was a poor choice and didn't work for film. I also thought that all the way too realistic property damage and destruction that happens in a major metropolitan city is still, we're wait another 20 or 30 years before we're ready to see that again. Way too real. And then another argument that we can have is that everyone has their own version of Superman. Sometimes Superman kills, sometimes he doesn't. Honestly, my version of Superman does not kill. He is not a martyr, but in any of the great stories that you've ever read about Superman, is that him dying is the ultimate last choice in order to set a better example and to truly be a Superman to humans so they can look up to somebody and be, and lead by, follow his example. Morrison, Millar, shit, man, I'll even go as far as fucking Landis's new series, where it's just, he leads by example. He's never a martyr. It's a last, point and destination. The last choice. He doesn't kill, he gives himself up first. That's the main point. One of the things to talk about this film is that there's so many amazing, great elements to it. I thought Wonder Woman is the best part of the film. God, I hope I'm not screwing her name up, is the only character. Wonder Woman was the only character that had a full story arc, that also had a character with development and with motivation to follow her story perfectly. She's the best part of the film. Second best part of the film is Jeremy Irons. I cannot wait. I'm gonna put this out there. I cannot wait to see a Jeremy Irons Ben Affleck film, because that Bruce and Alfred relationship was perfect. That was something I really, really wanted to see. In fact, that's something I didn't realize I wanted to see, but they got that part right. You know, Jesse, who played Lex Luthor, he's going to get a lot of shit for it. Personally, every scene he's in, he's kind of riveting. I was really excited for that. I like his version of Lex. I really do. I like that he's slightly mad, but trying to pretend to be a normal human. But just underneath the surface, you realize that there's something, you know, just aching to get out, and that's why he uses his brain and all his smarts to create a situation where he can get out and like have that part of himself out there and exposed. Those were the best parts of the film. When it comes to Batman, and it comes to Zack Snyder, and it comes to setting up the DC universe and what they're trying to do right now, it's probably time to stop. Again, we can always argue your version of Superman, but in the end, it really comes down to who Batman is. They play with it a little bit. They try to kind of delve into his psychosis and kind of like peel layers apart of the character and who he is and what makes him up, and they failed horribly. I don't care who you are or what your level is on knowing who Batman is. There's one argument that we will always have, and I will always win it. Batman doesn't kill. He doesn't. He can be violent. He can be as Frank Miller as possible. I even remember one of my favorite stories being Brian Azzarello and his version of Batman, who was incredibly violent but still had like a snappy response once in a while. Puts guys in the hospital. But Batman doesn't kill. He hates guns. He's not about that. And in this movie, they represent Batman in the worst way possible. Pretty much any action scene, motherfuckers are blowing up. And I could not deal with it. And it was on the level of like the 9/11 realism devastation in Man of Steel. And to a certain point in the beginning of this film, I was not okay with them throwing that in my face. I feel like it's also pandering. I feel like when you're trying to tell a story where you're trying to emote or try to get a emotional response from the audience, I think doing realistic destruction and violence is pandering. It's an easy way out, and it hits people on an emotional level that is not good for storytelling. It's not good for film. And in a situation like this, no matter how divided you were on Man of Steel, it's still, it's an easy way out. It's a really sad trope, and I'm not okay with it. I was not okay with watching that destruction again. I know that Zach is trying to constantly, like, you know, nail into our heads that this is what would look like if superheroes existed in a realistic, our world situation. It was a cheap shot. It's an easy way out. It was weak, and one of the best reasons to believe in these DC characters is that no matter what happens, no matter what the destruction is, no matter what the odds are against them, they find a way out. They don't kill. To tell a good story, they find a way around it, and it's just weak all around. I'm not okay with this film. Like I said, as far thematically, Zack Snyder is constantly going to be chasing Watchmen. He's always going to be chasing Watchmen. He's always going to try to be getting to that point again. And it's never going to happen with these characters because if you look at Watchmen, one, it's pretty much a Bible. It was all laid out. Like, it's just a storyboard, and just film it this way and just tell the story this way and say the dialogue just like this. Don't fuck it up. And yes, there was that weird, strange change at the end of the film, which, believe it or not, worked out really, really well. But when it comes down to it, Zack Snyder doesn't have an original idea as far as trying to tell new stories. So when you look at Watchmen, and Watchmen was a deconstruction of superheroes that could have never, ever told with regular DC comic characters. And it's the reason why Alan Moore had to create a whole new story with a bunch of new analogs that all stepped in place of those characters. That the story works magnificently. They don't come with any history. They don't come with any canon. You can write literally anything you want while still staying in the archetype of what the character they represent was or is or could be. And that's why Watchmen was a fantastic film based on a really great comic. Snyder is constantly chasing that again. He was trying to chase it in Man of Steel. I'm pretty sure he read a few Warren Ellis Authority comics and thought he could do it all over again. And it's impossible to do with these tentpole, iconic, just, I mean, you know, these characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Anytime we get upset about DC Comics not handling our heroes correctly, our gods correctly, this is a prime example. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that he's trying to chase after this theme and this idea, and he's playing in the wrong sandbox, and he's playing with the wrong characters. You can't do it with these characters. You cannot do it with Bruce. You cannot do it with Clark. You cannot do it with Hal. You cannot do it with any of those guys. So I feel so bad that he's got this idea of trying to make characters contemporary, but essentially ignoring what makes them heroes in the first place outright. Superman is always going to be an example. He's always going to try to set an example. He's always going to be that character that any person will look up to and go, I will not have those powers, but I will have that mindset and that thinking and try to do the right thing. Bruce Wayne will always be that character you look up to because he does not believe in guns and violence, and there's always a way out. Grant Morrison talked about that. He always has a contingency plan. He always has a backup, and he's always very self-aware of the world he lives in. And it only takes one small effort, action, moment to make it slightly better. And it's because you better yourself that it'll make that moment even more special. Wonder Woman is the best part of this fucking film. And it's such a fucking shame because you realize that in the end, after all the editing and after they massage the film and after they try to make it like this huge epic story, that it's only when you realize that her story was probably the smallest part of the film, but because of all the editing, they never ever had to touch her B story or her coming up, that it only made her more, you know, upfront and more special. And I think that's a huge slight on the side of the script writers and the editor and the director and the producers. And it's because of their nearsightedness that Wonder Woman emerges as such a great character, and it's hilarious. Jeremy Irons killed it too, by the way. I want to see that relationship again. But really, when it comes down to it, it'll be very interesting to see where the rest of the DC cinematic universe goes after this. Because truthfully, they're getting the TV shows right. I'll get shit for that. Also, I think they're getting the animation right, for sure. And this is a monstrosity of a film. There's no coherent storytelling. There's no reason for you to look at these characters, look up to these characters, to model yourself after these heroes. That was the whole point of these characters. It was the whole point of these creations. We just have another action film. I mean, as excited as I am for, and like I said, Affleck is a great Bruce Wayne. I'm going on record right now. I was one of those guys who was like, no, not Affleck. He kills it. It's just really disheartening that, you know, these characters are these weird, strange combinations of RoboCop and Rambo, which are two completely different separate characters that had to have violence and do excessive violence in order to solve their problems, because thematically that's what worked for their stories. Just, I don't know what to do with this. It's a bad film, and there's nothing to look up to in this. It's not fun. It's sad. It's gritty. It's gritty and real. That's what DC goes for. And I don't like leaving the theater feeling like this. Especially not about characters that I love. Whatever you do, whatever you take away from this film, whatever you think who Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman are, look up to that. Don't look at this film as inspiration. It's heartbreaking. And also, can we do something about like the whole third act thing that's been going on in superhero films, or any fucking film for the last 15 years? Every movie is not a fucking video game. Not every movie is a fucking end boss that's like 3 times as big as everybody else. What makes a really great third act in any film or any story, hi honey, how are you? My dog just popped up onto the couch, is the situation and how they solve it. Not how big it is, not how scary it is. The situation, what it creates, is a scarier, more enticing way to tell a story. Like this thing. She's very scared. Alrighty, guys. So, very drunk. I'm very tired. Hopefully, I will see you guys at WonderCon this weekend. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday, hopefully. And I'm really looking forward to talking to people. I'm really hoping that you guys will watch this and we can have a really good conversation about it. Because obviously I'm working at like 40% right now. Also, tune in every Sunday with Savannah, Ian, and myself for Your Mom's Basement. This week we're talking Lock and Key Volume 3, and also Alex and Ada, as soon as I get that trade back. And then hopefully within the next day or two, I'll also get my top 5 out this week, which is going to be weird because it was a really bad week for comic books, but I have some notes and thoughts on that. That said and done, guys, I love you. Don't look at this film as a way to tell really good stories. Not in the least. Not at all. Again, Snyder has had some really great films, but whatever it is that he's chasing and trying to, like, you know, grab back onto again that he had back in the past with his other films, I don't understand why he's trying to literally take the most glorious, multi-dimensional objects that you can't put a name on and try to shove them into a square peg. And that's essentially what's going on if we keep up the DC universe cinematically with these characters. TV shows are great. Animation's great. I don't know what's going on with WB and DC. I try not to talk shit about it, but this story is sad. So hopefully that's where we're at. Guys, get some sleep, and I'll find you guys later. Find me on Twitter at KirkLikesStuff. See you guys later. Have a good night. Don't go see this film. It ain't worth it.